It is the doo-wop and rhythm and blues music culture that was represented at the Old Trinity Mission, St. Augustine's, at the dance of August 22, 1959 in Manhattan, as it was that working class youth culture that embraced the more streetwise music. The clean teen culture of Dick Clark's American Bandstand, the films of Sandra Dee, and for that matter, the upper middle classes embracing of car culture, hot rods, and customs is what is primarily remembered by today's senior citizens of middle class suburbia, since, then as now, the middle class was and is the majority culture of America, including among its youth. Then there's the very real fact that the vast majority of 1950s and early 60s young people, including that era's teenagers, generally did not follow the news events of their own youth of the 1950s and early 60s, at least not in the same way that they do now with their following of today's current events as adult senior citizens, with this interview of a group of seniors being an example. Did teenagers in the 50s generally pay attention to the news, yes or no?
No.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention. And it's stuff that I know. Especially if it wasn't in your area.
That's
you
right.
know, I mean, maybe you heard what was happening in your neighborhood, but not anything beyond that. No. We were just interested in dancing, and going to proms, you know, that kind of thing. I think.
You didn't really listen to the news on the radio, and the TV wasn't pretty well non-existent.
That's true. Absolutely, and you don't read the paper.
When you recall the post-war era, the late 40s, 50s, and early 60s, do you go by personal memories or do you go by research? Little bit.
You call it research.
Yeah.
It's just glancing at articles and go, okay, and moving on.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was done.
Personal memories. I mean,
I'd say personal.
Yeah, definitely. Just my memories, right?
Yeah, some personal memories as well.
Yes.
If we say a name like Cape Man, does that mean anything to you?
No.
Yeah. Michael Farmer, does that name mean anything to you? But if we say a fictional movie like Rebel Without a Cause,
Oh, yeah.
of course, you know.
or West Side Story, that means something to you. If we say Forsyth Street Boys, Sportsmen, or even Los Gavilanes, which was in San Francisco.
Those I know.
So most of you were here in the Tri-City, or
No, San Francisco and the Peninsula.
San Francisco.
Connecticut, San Francisco,
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay.
Canada.
Canada.
You asked me to be here.
Okay. For those of you in San Francisco, do the terms Bart's, white shoes, or Muns, or Pachucos mean anything?
Pachucos and white shoes. Pachucos and white shoes.
Okay.
Chicos, but that's the only one I can recall.
Bops means nothing to you, right? Yeah.
Is that a dance?
It's called a bop.
Sounds good.
The bop is a dance, a bop is a gang member. Yeah, okay.
How familiar do you feel individuals in the late 70s to late 80s age range who would have been teenagers during the 1950s and early 60s, how familiar do you feel they would be with 1950s era crime cases and court cases, such as that of Salvador Agrón?
I think people today, especially, or in the 80s or 90s, they wouldn't really know what we were talking about. Their parents would, because their parents were subjected to all of the media that was going on at the time. But again, that really points to the need for historical accuracy and narratives that really make some kind of sense,